I'm going to go over how to make pixel art in Photoshop, or a bit more specifically, how to set up Photoshop so that making pixel art is as easy as possible. The first thing we're going to want to do is go up to File, and then New, and define the size of our artboard. I'm going to make this 20 pixels by 20 pixels, and I would suggest kind of keeping these numbers small to start with. If you're looking for kind of Nintendo, Super Nintendo style look, you don't want to make the pixels too large, like too many of them, because you'll end up putting in so much detail that kind of style is lost. And if you're working and you find yourself wanting to increase your artboard, you can always do that through the canvas. Color mode, I'm going to set to RGB, and resolution doesn't make a huge amount of difference right now. I'm just going to make it 300. And now I'm going to zoom in using Control plus, or if you're on a Mac, I think you can do that with Command plus, and then Control minus or Command minus to zoom out, in case you don't know that. I'm going to go up to Edit, and then Preferences. And if you're on a Mac, I believe you have to go to Photoshop and then Preferences if you don't have an edit with these in there. So either Edit Preferences and then or on a Mac, Photoshop Preferences. And then you're going to want to select Guides, Grid, and Slices. In here, the only two things you have to worry about are the grid line and subdivisions. You want to set the grid line to every 1, and then make sure you select pixels. And for subdivisions, hit 1, and then hit OK. And next we're going to want to make sure Photoshop is set to display the guides. So under View, go to Show, and make sure you select Grid. And if you do that and this doesn't pop up, make sure you have extras checked, because if you uncheck extras, it'll automatically hide any grid lines. So just make sure extras is checked. And next, you're going to want to go over here to the toolbar and hover over the paintbrush and just click and hold. And you want to select the pencil tool. Once the pencil tool is selected, you want to go up here where you can change the size and just click it. Make sure hardness is set to 100%. And the size is set to 1 pixel. And also something else, you might want to go to View and uncheck Snap. If Snap is checked, it can make things a bit of a pain if it starts snapping weird, so I usually just tend to turn that off. And now we're pretty much set to start making art here. What I'm going to suggest is for every different color, you might want to make a new layer and just kind of name the layer what it is, in case you want to go back in at a later time and just kind of change stuff around or shift a color. If all the colors are in the same layer, you might find that is quite a pain to do versus something that should have been pretty easy. I'm just going to make a really basic design here so I can kind of show what's going on, and then I'll show you how to enlarge these in case you're looking to create something a bit, print scale. Like when you're working on something small that's like 20 pixels by 20 pixels, if you were to print that on a printer, there won't be a whole lot to see. Just going to make one more color here. And I tend to find that when you're working with pixel art, you want to make pretty bold color choices. Like the ones I'm using right now might not be the best, but if you look at like a lot of old video game art and the like, you'll find that they make some pretty strong contrasts, and it really helps things stand out a bit more when you're working. So it's just something to consider. And once you have your art kind of looking the way you want and you're ready to enlarge it, in case you want to enlarge it, I'm just going to make a folder here quick and put all these in the folder. Go to View and then uncheck Extras, just so you can kind of get a good preview of what your art actually looks like. And this is where it's nice too if you want to change a color. Like I don't really like this dark blue, so I'm going to hit Control U on a PC or Command U on a Mac, and then you can just kind of shift the hue. Make sure Preview is checked. And that's where working in layers comes in really quite handy. I'm just going to duplicate this entire folder by holding down over the folder and then dragging it to this new layer button. And I'm going to turn off this original one. And now I'm going to right click, or if you're in a Mac, Control click and hit Merge Group. I'm doing this because I've found when you have a bunch of different layers and you try to enlarge it a bunch, it causes some pretty weird things to happen. So by doing this, it tends to help a little bit. But to enlarge this, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up to Image and then Image Size. And under here at the very bottom, it'll let you select the method for enlargement. You want to click that and then select Nearest Neighbor, Preserve Hard Edges. That'll help a whole bunch when it comes to not letting your edges look blurry when you enlarge it a crazy amount. So right now this is 20 pixels by 20 pixels, and I'm just going to make it 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels, or 100 times larger, I think. Hit OK. And now looking at these edges here, you can see they're super crisp. Preserve hard edges isn't perfect. Sometimes it does some pretty weird things, but for the most part it does a pretty amazing job at what it does. As you can see, this looks really good. These edges are nice and crisp. And if I didn't flatten this, sometimes it'll adjust things. It makes them scale unevenly. So always keep your working layers in a folder. That's why I call this folder working. And then just duplicate that and then merge it before you enlarge. I'm just going to zoom out here. And there you have it. It shows that it's pretty darn easy to make this stuff pretty quickly. Of course, being really good at making pixel art is a long process, and it's definitely a learning process. I'd really suggest going on Google and just kind of searching around pixel art and kind of making some stylistic choices based on that. And that's something else you can do too that I forgot to show. I just went back, so this is 20 pixels by 20 pixels again. You can make elements, like I just typed out a $sign here in Illustrator, and I'm just going to copy this over in Photoshop. Like if you wanted, you can do this and just bring elements in there and then kind of trace over them. Like you can see it blurs it out since it's such a tiny resolution now. But I'm just going to select the brush, the pencil tool again, and you can kind of start going over stuff almost like tracing. If you want kind of like a little way of guiding your choices when it comes to making pixel art. It's just one way to do it. And especially if I'm doing type and I kind of want to convert type to some, a pixely style, this is a cool way of doing it, and it's super fast. Maybe go to a blue or something, who knows. And then when you're done, you can either just turn this off or delete it. This doesn't look too cool, but you get the general idea. And just as an example of like how crazy you can get with this stuff, I'm just going to show you this artist quick. I'll put a link in the description, but there's definitely some super talented people out there working in this style. This is just ridiculous, the amount of detail. But really spend some time researching artists you like, especially look at old Capcom video game art, like Mega Man, that kind of stuff. It'll really kind of help you guide what you're doing and make some smart choices that hopefully help your style improve as you continue learning. But if this video was helpful for you, please hit like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching.